about renationalising rail and energy. It's been usually 2-1. Taxing the richest has been about the same. Banning zero-hour contracts is about a 5-1 in opinion polls. Ending hospital parking charges, ending tuition fees. Yes, I think there's a whole host of popular policies in that manifesto.
So what's the problem then?
Well, actually, I don't think there is a problem, because if you'd asked me this question 3 weeks ago, we'd have been talking about a 23% YouGov poll lead for the Tories. Look at the local elections. I know they weren't fought all over the country, but that was the equivalent of about an 11% lead. Now the policies are out and being discussed. From Leamington up to Leeds, Jeremy's getting not only hundreds, but thousands turning out at lunchtimes to hear him. He's out of the prison of Parliament. He's not on the agenda. And if the right in the Labour Party can stop the attacks that have dominated the airwaves for the past year and a half, and the policies can be talked about, I think there's everything to play for on June the 8th.
So this premise of, it's popular policies but not a popular leader, you don't buy that?
I fully accept that the agenda that has been written around Jeremy in the last 20 months since he was first elected has concentrated mainly on the 170 MPs. As recently only as a week or so ago, the front page of the Daily Telegraph was, he may win, but whatever happens on June the 8th, there's 100 Labour MPs, and Peter Malleson's involved. There's still 2 Labour parties.
But what about the public, though? The public don't seem to be warming to him, or do they?
Well, I think they are. I repeat, when he was up in the Midlands, in Leamington, just over a week ago, with about an hour's notice on a lunchtime, there was about 500 people. There was much more came out in Leeds a day or two ago. If the next 4 weeks he concentrates 2 or 3 times a day on the towns and cities, like he did during the 2 leadership elections, and if the agenda that's been talked about, which is shifting, by the way, I think he's got one victory already, because 10 or 20 years ago, there's such an overlapping political agenda between Tony Blair and David Cameron. Now you've even got Tories talking about intervening in the market with price caps on energy and workers' rights and so on. To a certain extent, he's shifted the debate of the election already.
But isn't that because he's shifted to the left and the right can actually take some of that ground and take your votes away?
No, I think there's a lot of people who don't vote normally in elections, usually about a fifth of the population or more, and I think within that, there's all sorts of reasons why they should be enthused to come out. I mean, anybody who's got I was blessed before bright kids went to university. Nowadays, a £50,000 debt for anybody who goes to university. If that goes with Labour, there are literally millions of people who are going to be better off for that. So, better funding the NHS and education, and a £10 an hour minimum wage, ending zero contracts, those things are extremely popular, and if they're identified with a change of leader and a change of government, Labour can win the election.
Is there also a sense of credibility about this, or a lack of credibility, that if you've got a lot of policies that a lot of them are popular, because who's not going to want 4 extra bank holidays? Who's not going to want to put the living wage up? They're kind of things that it's easy to give, but not so easy to pay for. Are you not worried that people will look at this and think, well, it all sounds very good, but how are they going to pay for it?
Well, at the same time the manifesto come out, John McDonnell brought out a 6 or 7 page how it's going to be paid for document, and it adds up to about £50 billion. And they're talking about raising it from corporation tax back to the levels of about 10 years ago, and raising income tax on the richest 5%, people earning more than $80,000. Now, I'd go further than that. I mean, this is the 5th richest country on the planet. The Sunday Times, less than 2 weeks ago, brought out its rich list and showed the top 1,000 people in this country are now worth £658 billion, some 11 times more than Labour's programme. We're not a poor country, it's just that the money's in the wrong hands.
What about the widely held view that in political circles, people look at this and they say the trouble is that you have to win the middle ground to win elections? That you've already got, if you've got a left kind of leaning policies, which this manifesto is, then you've got the support of the left anyway. So you need to pull in people from the middle. Do you think this will do it?
There's an element of truth to that. As important are the 4 million votes that were lost from 1997 to 2010 during the last Labour government, a goodly proportion of whom went to UKIP. And I think Jeremy can win back working class voters who have deserted Labour. And I think that middle class voters who suffer just as much from rising house prices in the south or the cost of higher education for youngsters going to university and so on, they've got just as much stake in a radical socialist alternative for health and education as working class people have.
And you know Jeremy, do you think he will be enjoying this or just hoping it's all going to be over soon? Because I look at him, I look at Theresa May as well. They both look a bit uncomfortable, to be honest.
Well, elections are funny things for the people who are right in the centre of that maelstrom, you know, the pace of it and so on. Whether either of them are enjoying it in that sense, I couldn't really say. But I know what Jeremy will be enjoying. He's been 40 years fighting from the 1970s onwards, most of that time in Parliament, to try and get the language of socialism back in common parlance. And I think this manifesto begins to do that. I think the election on June the 8th will take that process further. But I don't think politics are going to stop there. I think there is more than an element of truth to this idea. There's two Labour parties, and those who are the inheritors of the last 20, 25 years of Tony Blair's stewardship of the Labour Party are not going to go away. There's talk about realignments between and within parties and so on. So I think politics is going to get even more exciting beyond the election, as well as for the next 4 weeks.
Thank you very much indeed, Dave Nellist, joining us there, colleague of Jeremy Corbyn, National Chair of the TUSC, the Trade Union and Socialist Coalition. Very clear on where his support lies. What I'm wondering, though, is...